In this class we're going to look at Porter's 5 forces. In previous classes, or in classes running parallel to this one, you'll see that the 5 forces are listed in boxes like I've drawn here. So we can identify the 5 forces of Porter in this schematic representation. The one we're going to look at in this session is product and technology development. In fact, we're going to keep it very simple and just skate over the surface again, just to give you an introduction to this one. And the way I'll do that is to look at the threat of substitutes and look at substitute products in markets. So we'll start from the premise that there are firms in the market producing goods, and there are new firms about to come in, and these new firms will perhaps be based on technology or by looking at new inventions or the adaptation of new inventions to produce the goods, the substitute goods, which will be used in the market. So let's start from there, and let's have a look at the threat of substitutes. We'll assume that the new technology will help producers to produce the substitutes, and that these will be a problem for the existing producers. The problem for the existing producers can be dealt with under various headings. For example, substitutability will enable customers to switch to alternative products if there is a higher perceived benefit or value. Generally speaking, we like, as consumers, we like newness, we like modernity, we like new products. So when substitutes come into the market, they tend to have the latest technology incorporated. Just think of mobile phones, for example. A phone is a phone, but nowadays a phone is a PDA, a personal digital assistant. It's a telephone. You can have video, music, etc. These are all adaptations over time, and as the technology became available, and these substituted for the existing original telephones, mobile phones in the market. So the consumer saw that there was perceived benefit, and therefore the new products became fashionable, became the dominant product in the market. The substitute could attract a significant proportion of the market, and in this way it could reduce sales for the existing players. For example, I say players, I mean companies, for example, but I say it could cause a significant reduction in potential sales. It depends on the degree of substitutability between the products. If the products are very close to each other, then as more and more substitutes enter the market, and they're all very similar, then obviously the ones who were there first will experience greater supply and will have to fight harder to maintain market share. Excuse me. So there will be issues surrounding the degree of substitutability. And of course, as more substitutes become available, the individual companies become weaker. If we start with one company, i.e. a monopoly, selling a product, and if for some reason a second company manages to establish itself selling a similar product, then the first company will have lost some of its power, its market power. But if many companies enter the market, then that company will become weaker and weaker as more companies come in. So as substitutes become more available, the demand becomes more elastic, since customers have more alternatives. Now, the term more elastic here applies to elasticity of demand, and there is a separate session on elasticity of demand that you should consult if you're confused about that particular point. The existence of close substitutes represents a strong competitive threat, limiting the price a company can charge and thus its profitability. So the closer the substitutes, the stronger the competition. Mobile phones. A lot of mobile phones have very similar functionality, have very similar apps or applications which can be downloaded that will do similar jobs. Currently the Apple iPhone tends to be a market leader, but Nokia is the biggest phone company apparently, mobile phone company, and it brings out products very similar that can do similar things to Apple, and Apple also tends to copy Nokia, and Samsung copies the others and they copy Samsung, and so in the end the consumer is getting very much a similar product. It looks slightly different and it may be subject to fashion considerations, so the consumer may buy it because it's an accessory, it's a fashion accessory. If there's not good brand loyalty for the product, then a substitute is more likely to be a threat. If there's a lot of brand loyalty, then people will buy it anyway. If consumers are loyal to Nokia, they will buy Nokia no matter what Apple does. It's brand loyalty. But if there's not that brand loyalty to Nokia, then as Apple improves its product, people will switch over. So the degree of brand loyalty is an issue. If the company can maintain close customer relationships, that could stop a substitute entering the market. If it's got good customer relations, if there's good follow-up on sales, or if problems arise with the product and the company handles the product well so that the customer experience is very good, then it's very difficult for a competitor to enter that market, because not just the branding is good, but the whole customer experience, the customer loyalty to the product is such that a new company entering the market will find it very difficult to compete with that company. Customers have a cost in switching. It could be a financial cost, but it could also be a learning cost. If you do switch mobile phones, I keep emphasizing mobile phones just as an example, but if you do switch mobile phones, you've got to learn new tricks. You've got to learn new key combinations to do certain things. Although there tends to be more of a move towards graphical user interfaces, GUIs, where you have touch screens, nonetheless, by switching the product, you still have to learn. I also say here that if the substitute uses a lot of technology, then the price of switching to use the substitute may be too expensive, and so a threat of substitution would be less. That's really a problem for the company producing the product. If there's a lot of technology incorporated into it, it may be expensive to bring the product to market in the first place, simply because it's expensive to develop. There's a lot of know-how, learning by doing. There's a lot of intellectual property incorporated in the product, and perhaps that will deter a company even from setting up in the first place, because it's so expensive to break into that market. Current trends within a market may help a substitute enter the market. A good example here would be teenagers. Teenagers tend to do what their peers do. It's a herd instinct. So if people go with a particular product within a particular group, it's a bit tribal really, but if one member of the group, or the tribe if you like, buys a particular telephone, the rest tend to go with that one. They don't want to lose membership of the group by having a different telephone. I know it may sound strange, but apparently this is the way we live. They want to be cool. They want to be a part of something. So if something becomes established, that's the way it is. Somebody decides to put their hood up, to buy buy a hoodie and put their hood up. After a while, teenagers walk around with hoods up. Why do they walk around with hoods up? Because it's cool. They want to be cool. That's what they believe is cool. So it's a fashion thing. They follow it. So if current trends in a market, they may help a substitute to enter the market. They could also, of course, kill off the substitute. If the current producer is clever enough and says there are a bunch of people out there called teenagers who will follow each other, if we can get some to adopt it, the rest will adopt it, and that will mean that competitors will find it difficult to enter the market. So it can cut two ways. Technological change can create entirely new products or product uses that substitute for others. As technology changes, I mean, we do see products changing, metamorphosing into something else, into different products. We've seen fairly big and substantial laptops becoming smaller and smaller. Now we've netbooks, which are dedicated just to surfing the net. So there seems to be niche developments. Products are developed according to perceived niches. So depending on technology and the pace of technological change, new products can enter the market which can substitute for existing products or could actually carve out a new part of the market. So perhaps some people will still have laptops, fairly big, substantial laptops, to do lots of heavy processing and have a netbook just to carry around with them to go online. There are other examples. For example, MP3s, they've replaced DVDs, well, CDs probably, which have replaced tapes, which have replaced vinyl. So we can see that there are developments, technological developments that have come in which have helped some companies and perhaps even ruined others. So that really is the arrows pointing in the direction of the backwards direction, heading back towards the vinyl, old records from the past. An example of substitutes could be the postal system. Emails are now used a lot for letters. We still need a postal system because we need packages delivered. Once it's got a physical component, we still need it. So we still need a sort of a wider postal system, a sort of a generic postal system, one which can deliver to everybody, but perhaps not necessarily for letters anymore. So as technology changes, we have a greater variety of products and services. We could still use the postal system to post a letter, or we can send an email. Let's summarize this. Well, these are a list of the points I think we've worked across. I won't sort of talk all the way through it now because it's quite a lengthy slide. But if you wanted a summary of what we've been talking about, we started with brand loyalty. We talked about how customer relations may stop a substitute entering the market, switching costs for customers, and so on and so on. That's a summary of what we've been up to. So that'll give you an insight into this last block for Porter's 5 forces. There are other sessions like this one available to cover the other 4, so you're welcome to have a look at those. In the meantime, thanks for looking.